Hey guys, this is Flash coming at you with a special winter weather update video. Tonight, I want to walk you through the potential threat for next weekend. This is during the Friday, December 7th through Sunday, December 9th time frame. And I want to drill down specifically on Saturday because that looks like that's going to be our golden ticket day. So we'll just jump in, shall we? So I'm going to go ahead and just minimize this. And we'll check out today's 12Z GFS. And what I want to do is look at a few different model runs, see what different models that just want to look at what they're suggesting in terms of precip type, timing, uh, total precip amounts. Um, as we normally see around here, it's not going to just be one precip form. We're going to see a potpourri of rain, freezing rain, sleet, snow. It's going to be a mess. So a potential mess, I should say. We're still speaking in the land of extended. So all of this still needs to be taken with a grain of salt. But the goal with these briefings, I want to crank one out every few days or so leading up to the event and just kind of share my thoughts, my concerns, what I think is most likely to happen. So 12Z, here we go. Let me hide this. All right. The only thing really worth noting, as far as the weekdays are concerned, is we might see some snow showers Tuesday evening, early Wednesday. I think this is mostly going to be a plateau, uh, northeast Tennessee, maybe northeast counties of Middle Tennessee. Uh, and we're not talking a whole lot, maybe like a dusting at most. So there could be some snow showers for certain counties. Um, but you could see we got plenty of cold air this week. We didn't have it over the weekend. We didn't have it at the end of last week. We've been kind of in a brief, mild, transient pattern here post Thanksgiving, but we are shaping up to have a cooler week. In part, you can see that high over Iowa, the 1038 high. That's partly responsible for why things are going to be cooler. You can see kind of how it flattens out the trough here as it comes just the eastern spine of the Rockies, and then it, those contours go zonal. And you could see how that's going to be that high, a 1038 high, is going to be a key ingredient to this potential winter storm event coming up this weekend. And you can see it already taken form. What are we, 12Z Friday? So this is early Friday morning. We see mostly rain as far as that shield goes in Texas, southern Oklahoma, and Arkansas. But you could see some frozen precip, blossoming over the, Amarillo and, back into New Mexico. So we're at 120, and you could see how the next couple frames, the frozen precip shield on the northern flank really starts to blossom. That high, I want you guys to watch that feature because one thing there's a lot of things wonky about the GFS in recent runs, and one of them is just where it's stamping the high and the progression of that. So it's kind of doing this dance. It's moving northeast, and then it kind of just sticks. Look at that. It doesn't move between frames here. That's 6 hours worth of time, and that high doesn't move. It's over Wisconsin now. But of course, all eyes are on Middle Tennessee and see what this is going to do. So note where the low pressure is at 1008 low at Louisiana. A lot of models are honing in that there will be a low pressure system developing in this region. This is a good place. If you want a good winter weather event, this is a primary ingredient. You need a low and a favorable storm track. And if it forms along the Gulf Coast, that's not a bad look from that. And the high right above it, it's almost due north. That's going to keep the flow, the winds that are circling around it clockwise is going to keep it from the north. So that's going to keep, colder air in play. And you can see some frozen precip breaking out in southern Tennessee. And I think this is probably, it's underestimating the precip on the northern flank here. We're dry at 144. So what is this? Valid 12Z Saturday. So that's going to be midnight Friday to Saturday, or excuse me, 6 in the morning. Mostly liquid, but you could see some snow as that colder air gets entrenched. That northwest Tennessee, you can see that rain turn to snow quicker. Mostly a cold rain event. Note how the low kind of scoots along the coast. It's kind of just offshore of Mobile, Pensacola, and points in between there. It's moving more east, but then eventually it's going to cut to the northeast, east-northeast, and we have at 168. We're now that's a week out from when this run initialized. We got a couple high pressures, and you note that there's two here. Not exactly a banana high setup, but it's going to keep cold air rotating around it, keeping that flow from the north. So on the backside, this would suggest, outside of your cold air damming regions, east of the Appalachians, we could see some mixed precip in Kentucky, snow on the backside as the low lifts, and now it's right in Chesapeake, not Chesapeake Bay, but just off the North Carolina Virginia border. So that's Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. So rain turning into snow per the 12 ZGFS, and I won't show, because it's kind of hard to navigate a tropical tidbits when I'm cutting these loom videos. Just know this spits out about an inch of snow for most of Middle Tennessee. If we look at the 18Z GFS, which initialized a few hours ago, we see something a little similar for the most part. Snow showers. It's good. Not only will it be a cool week, but a dry week. Up until, really, we could all just, chill out until we get to Saturday, basically. So you could see the high kind of dancing. You can see there's a high pressure system of Iowa over Indiana, and then back in Iowa between frames 132 and 144, or hours, I should say. And but the 12Z, 18Z GFS, very similar in terms of starting out with cold rain, where that frozen precip starts just to the north of us, and then even that that warm nose. I'm worried that surface flow will be from the southwest, and that will keep temps from cooling to all snow levels. But the one thing, again, we see that low a little further north this time. It's more inland down here, that 1008 low. So that's, again, favorable storm track. I think we can lock that in pretty much now. And then just a little bit, barely anything on the back end, but some snow. So again, very minor amounts. That is more of a hit for North Carolina, but I don't really buy that. You can see the lows more offshore this time. It's way more out to sea, actually. That's one big difference. You could look at this is 180, so between the 18Z and the 12Z, you can see how the low shifts like a couple hundred miles to the south. So there's going to be some ebb and flow as far as where how the storm track, where the low goes once it, moves off the Gulf Coast. Is it going to move more northeast or east northeast? That remains to be seen. But we take all these runs with a grain of salt. The point is that it looks like there is some frozen precip in the back for us. Now, the GFS, that's one operational run of an entire ensemble. So I want to show you the ensemble output here. And so I'll go to my preview. This is the GEFS, so the E stands for ensemble. And you could see when you take in all the 50-ish, I forget the exact number off the top of my head, but there's a lot of runs in the ensemble members. And you could see how, along I-40, there's some decent amounts there. That's suggesting, wherever you see blue, that's at least 2 inches of snow. And so that's the encouraging sign. When we're out this far, we're looking for patterns and we're looking for trends. So that's encouraging. If you love snow like me, you want to see the ensemble spitting out these amounts, 7 days in advance. So that's the ensembles. Let's do UK Met real quick, just to show you guys that this is valid. This is, let's see, 144. I think this is more Friday night than Saturday morning, but you could see that 1011 low. It's not far from Houston, Galveston. That's going to move to the east. So there's, another model, but putting that low symbol, I think we could all many in the weather business can agree that there's going to be some low forming in Texas, Louisiana, when the weekend's kicking off. What do we got here? This is, well, I'll get to that in a second. That's got a couple more graphics here, but that's, let's check the Canadian real quick before we get off tropical tidbits here. Right. I'm going. This has kind of like a leading band of precip before the low even really fires up, which is interesting. I don't really sure if I buy that, but you can see with the 12Z Canadian, this is the Canadian model, has a cold bias. So don't, yeah, we're in that blue, that I-40 kind of bisects that rain snow transition. Well, actually, this would still be probably mostly rain because I think the rain snow line's it's a bit further up. So the Canadian can be wonky with that cold air bias. I think this is all rain despite the blue you see. But that low, it's tracking further inland. And actually, it's not far from Birmingham. It's a 10-10 low, so it's a little weaker, but it's still pulling in colder air. Look at that. That's heavy snow. That's a deformation band. That's a trowel. I don't really buy that. But even if the low were to cut, a couple hundred miles to the north, we're still in the cold air. We're still in a good sector, I think, where we could still capitalize on some cold air advection at least during the back end run. But there's not a huge high pressure system presence here, so we're still very far out. But there's going to be a high pressure somewhere to our north that looks likely. Snow to the backside, mostly rain, but a little bit of snow as the system departs. You can see where the low is. It's not quite out to sea. It's just hugging the coastline there of Hatteras, near Hatteras, really. We'll see if this is going to bomb out, but you can see there's a there's a high pressure system over in New England hugging the Canadian border, so that may keep the low from running up the coast. But that's the Canadian. That's one run, so I'm not putting too much stock in that. All right, so this is just for kicks. This is the euro for Dixon, and Dixon, I know doesn't represent where all of you live, but this far out, 30 mile difference is not that big a deal. So let's see if I can. So this is the global euro. So this is the latest run, and this just showing snow depth here. That's it. You can see how we get out to Saturday and Sunday. Mean euro about 1.5 inches, with some members going way high. You could see that here, 6-8 inches. But that mean suggests we could see some appreciable accumulation with this. Our first accumulation of, the install mean right there, 1.7. So certainly on the table. This is one of the sites I forgot to talk about a few videos ago, Next Gen Weather Lab, weather.cod.edu. This is the Dupree site. So if we look at we're just looking at amounts here, 12Z GFS, we get into Friday, Saturday. So, this is the CVSC version 2. You could see some, this is another model, it says 4.1 inches over natural. Don't buy that. GEFS, I already showed you this, but just kind of showing you the navigation in case you want to access it yourself. It's part of the reason why I do this. Wow, that's interesting. That's not where I wanted to go. Precip, we're mostly just concerned about. Oh yeah, totally forgot. So this is what I mean by the ensembles. This is the GEFS, and you can see there's different ensemble members. And what's cool about this is that you can just slide this button up here. It's like a green tool ballish area, and you just slide it over to the right, and you can see the QPF projections as they unfold by day, and that number is just the hour you're going out. And you could see a lot of members of the GFS have portions of Middle Tennessee and some appreciable snow accumulations. And I really think that this is going to be a north of I-40 special, and what remains to be seen is where this low tracks. So this could be, a case where Tennessee gets mostly rain, and you get up into Kentucky, and as soon as you pass the border, all of a sudden it's like snow. That's what I lean towards. this far out because it just seems to be the most common outcome around here. But I am impressed that we have so many ensembles suggesting that's the 18Z. If you went to 12s, you'd see something similar. So I just wanted to show you that the site. What else? I thought there was one more thing I wanted to show you. Oh yeah, the European. Huh. All right. So this was the 12Z European. This is like such a troll clown map. I'm very serious when I say this is not going to happen. Unfortunately, if this breaks loose on social media, this is going to get plastered and people are going to go crazy. People in Tupelo, Florence, Huntsville, Chattanooga, Atlanta. This is not going to happen. When you see a map like this, the Euro is ingesting something off into its algorithm, and I look at this and I'm like, okay, you got to temper the amounts by down to 30-40%, and then that's a very narrow axis. I don't know why that that plume, that snow path, just it goes so narrow. It leaves Nashville in the dust, and then it just explodes. And look at Greenville. Look at that max stamped. On the Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina border. Oh, some of you wish that could happen, but not me. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, a quarter of those amounts, and then that track is probably going to be north by like 100 miles. So the 12Z, but this is the Euro, and Euro usually has better verification scores. So that's why a lot of, are people like, interesting. A lot of that going on today. So you're probably wondering, well, why is Nashville in the dust? Well, this is and this is why I have this graphic open. There's, and this is in the context of nor'easters, but there's different, when we talk about winter weather systems, a lot of them fall under Miller A or Miller B. And this would be what I lean towards happening. And this is kind of why sometimes you'll see amounts, this far out, you'll see a lot of heavy snow amounts in Oklahoma and Arkansas, and then Tennessee gets skipped, and then North Carolina gets a lot. And part of it is the parent low weakens as it approaches the mountains. That low fills in, and then there's a new low that spawns to the east, southeast of it, and it rides up the coast. That's just doesn't happen every time. It's just a very generic outcome. Of course, we have a low that's developing all on the coast of Texas, Louisiana. So that low you see here in the graphic is going to be south of us. But, and if you have a parent low that maintains itself and doesn't dissipate and doesn't fill in as it pushes the mountains, and it just rides up cuts underneath it and rides up the coast, that's a Miller A. But a Miller B is a low that, it approaches the mountains in some way or another, and it weakens, and then a new low kind of emerges like a daughter low, if you will, and it just does its thing, and it goes along a similar pathway if it was a Miller A. But so that's one of the things yet to be determined. Is this system going to hold together the whole way through? Is it going to ride the coast and have a track similar to the Superstorm in '93? Not saying at all this is going to be a Superstorm, by the way. I'm just saying for a point of reference, of where that low track. Probably not. I don't think this is going to be a huge deal as it stands. But if we're talking simply, are we going to see our first snow accumulations of the 2018-2019 winter? I really think there is a modest chance, of a decent chance. I'm not going to say likely yet. Let's see. Where do I want to go? Oh, yeah, this is the Miller I was telling you about. So this system may have some more Miller A characteristics to start out, but that low is not in the Gulf. It's most models right now have that low hugging the coastline, staying inland. So we'll see if it goes underneath the Appalachians or if it runs into it in the southwest northeast orientation. But another thing I'll say, a lot of models have a banana high setup, so they have a high right, up here, and then there's another high down here. Like we saw that in the GFS runs. There's highs in the Midwest here that's going to keep the cold air. When you have a, kind of a double high, that's it kind of forms this banana shape, hence the term banana high setup. That just reinforces that the air is going to be out of the north, and that's what you want to see. A banana high setup is solid, and I don't have a map hold up to show that, unfortunately, but I will show you that going back to the European, this is a different run, but this just shows total frozen precip QPF, and those are pretty stark amounts. You see a 0.5. That's liquid equivalent. On a 10-to-1 ratio, that could be easily, gosh, who knows, 6 to 10 inches of snow, or maybe like half an inch of snow with some frozen, some sleeve freezing area mixed in. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying there's some solutions out there that are saying this could be a legit, more than a nuisance winter storm, but it remains to be seen. So, all right, let's see if I can figure out where I'm at here. I think I lost where I was at. Congrats. All right, sorry, I disappeared there. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up. Hope you guys had a fun tour of what could very well be Winter Storm Diego. We'll see. Hope you have a great week, and I'll try and get another one of these videos cranked out Tuesday or Wednesday. So I will catch you on the fry, as always. Peace.